We do understand that Vanessa Poonah is also on standby somewhere there within the airport building. So Vanessa, take us through what's happening where you are right now.
Yes, good morning to you. And it is still very quiet here at the Cape Town International Airport at the arrivals terminal. I can tell you that I have seen this morning leadership from the ANC's Dula Omar region as well as the SACP. And joining me is the Provincial Secretary of Cosatu here in the Western Cape. Of course, they had arranged for a welcoming ceremony for the expelled Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. And I'll bring in now Malvin de Bruin to talk about what is expected in the next hour or two. We know that Mr. Rasool is expected to land here at 11 o'clock. Malvin, very warm good morning to you, if you'll just join me over here. Of course, you know, we've heard from the ANC leadership nationally that this issue about the expelled expelled ambassador, Mr. Ebrahim Rasool, must be managed carefully. I mean, I heard inflame the situation. And of course, many could argue that by coming here, by inviting the public to welcome back Mr. Rasool, this could be seen as defying such as a sentiment by the president.
Yeah, thanks Vanessa, and good morning to the viewers. Yeah, as Cosatu, we're here to welcome one of our own. We can't see a welcoming of a leader on a movement as a defying the leadership of the ANC. Not at all. That's not our intention to defy anyone. If that is a Congress decision in our latest Congress of last week, we've decided as Cosatu that we will welcome one of our own, Ebrahim Rasool, back to South Africa, because we have the view what happened in America was totally wrong for him to be expelled.
So your view is that it was wrong for him as a diplomat to be expelled. Of course, we know that this issue arises from that webinar, Mr. Webinar. As a diplomat, was he correct in uttering what he did?
What we are saying that if the Americans found at that stage that what he said was wrong, they should have called him in and discussed the matter, like we did when their ambassador made false statements, I think a year or two ago. We didn't expel this guy. We said we escorted him by ambassador and basically reprimanded for a statement that you've made. And we of the view America should have done the same and not just expelling the man from the country. And that's basically an attack on our own sovereignty.
So, of course, there are huge concerns around trade relations as well as diplomatic relations between South Africa as well as the United States. We know that the funding cuts, for example, the PEPFAR funding cuts. We also know that, there are repercussions, I suppose, for both sides. Going forward, what would you like to see happening in terms of the possible redeployment or deployment of perhaps another ambassador to the United States?
Yeah, what we're saying, we know the economic issues that we're confronted with. And what we're saying is, Cosatu, is that the blame should be fairly at the doorstep of organizations like AfriForum and Solidarity for spreading false news. I think that have led to where we are today. At Cosatu, we don't want to lose any investment from the American people because our own people will basically suffer if that's going to happen. So what we want is for the parties to go to the table and discuss this particular matter and find a solution, not by expelling them in the first instance. Now, Cosatu also said to the media that before that we're not here to frustrate the American people, only here to support one of our own. So if South Africa needs to appoint a new ambassador, then there's a process that needs to be followed, and the president will ultimately decide who will be the new ambassador to the United States of America.
So just very shortly, Malvin, what happens when Mr. Rasool arrives? Will there be a media conference or will it be a meet and greet? I don't see very many supporters here at the moment. What form will this welcoming home take?
Yeah. Basically, as like we've said in the beginning and in our other statements, that's a welcoming. We'll have a short discussion with him. We all depends if Mr. Rasool wants to address the media, and if he said yes, then we'll join him and address the media. But it's now still early; it's now past 9, and our people know they'll be here by 11 o'clock. So we will expect a couple of hundred people that will join us today to welcome Mr. Rasool, one of our own, son of the soil.
Melvin de Bruin, thank you so much for your time. Of course, the Cosatu's Melvin de Bruin speaking to us. But for some more insight into the arrival of expelled Ambassador Rasool, my colleague Samkelo Maseko is also standing by at a different part of the international arrivals terminal. Samkelo?
Indeed, Vanessa, it is still very quiet here at the Cape Town International Airport in anticipation for the arrival of Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. We are anticipating that he will either arrive in that particular Qatar Airways aircraft that arrives at 20 to 11, and there is another one that will be scheduled to arrive at 11 o'clock that is coming from Frankfurt, but we don't know where he is linking from. There is another one coming from London Heathrow at 20 to 11 as well. So we're not yet sure which flight he will be connecting with from the United States of America and coming into South African land. But I am with Benson, the Provincial Secretary of the South African Communist Party. As the SACP, you have said you'll be having a hero's welcome for Ebrahim Rasool. The presidency says you must exercise maximum restraint along with the African National Congress and don't further fuel the diplomatic tensions with the United States of America. Your message that you'll be giving to Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool when he arrives?
One, we are going to commend Rasool, being expelled, simply because he spoke truth to power, and that he refused to submit to the dictates of right-wing, populist, authoritarian imperialist forces, So we're going to commend him for that, and also for having asserted our national sovereignty in this country. And given the measures made by the president, as the party was saying, it has been our historical duty in the alliance, to defend our national democratic revolution. And in this instance, we are asserting our national sovereignty and we are defending our national sovereignty for coming here because we do not want right-wing forces, to celebrate and be emboldened simply because some want us to discard Rasool. That is not going to happen. Rasool is us and was deployed, for political reasons, therefore is coming back. Actually, our government ought to engage the U.S. administration that the U.S. administration has no authority to dictate to us as whom we must deploy to the U.S. as our ambassador. That's the bottom line.
When you look at there was a letter that was sent out by Snuki Isigalala, the president of the ANC Veterans League. I want to go to a particular extract in this statement they sent out on Human Rights Day and read it to you so that, quote, "It is naive to believe that you can rebuild diplomatic relations with an impeccable enemy." I repeat, quote, "It is naive to believe that you can rebuild diplomatic relations with an impeccable enemy." That is Snuki Isigalala. What is your view on that particular statement by Snuki Isigalala?
Snuki Isigalala made the statement, and on this one, right, I will leave the General Secretary, Mapaela, to make further comments on it.
But looking at the fraught diplomatic relations that are ultimately going to go to fraught trade relations between South Africa and the United States of America, US aid has already been cut, PEPFAR has been cut, ultimately looking at South Africa being booted out of AGOA as well. What does this translate like in trade relations and economic relations between the two countries when at political level, diplomatic level, it's at an all-time low?
The point, however, is for South Africans to use every crisis, to identify opportunities. Therefore, it is the moment for us as South Africa either to look east, assert ourselves, and we are rich in terms of resources. What is it that we must do with them as South Africans without this over-dependence on the West? So this is very important for us. It gives us an important homework on what is to be done to asserting ourselves so that, because we're being undermined by the U.S. because of what appears as over-dependence on them. And if we submit to them, we are in trouble. And our national sovereignty will be auctioned off. So where we stand as a party, we must not submit to the dictates of the Western imperialist forces headed by the U.S. in this instance, on the economic front, on the trade front in this instance.
Your former member or current member of the Central Committee, Gwede Mantashe, also Minister of Mineral Resources and Petroleum, he said that we must simply withhold our minerals to the United States of America. What is your position on the SACP, particularly on those fronts, on economic relations between the two countries, when they are launching an onslaught against you and saying that Afrikaners who are facing those human rights violations that are not there should apply for refugee status in the States?
What I made a statement simply because we must not be apologies. We have our own resources. They withdraw their aid, we uphold our mineral resources. However, we ought to ensure that withholding our resources, we've done our homework in economic terms, so that we don't plunge the working class into a crisis of bloodbath, of retrenchment and unemployment at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. That is the Provincial Secretary of the South African Communist Party. Interesting individuals have also arrived. There's a former member of parliament, the former person who led that inquiry into the former public protector, that would be Busisiwe Mkhwebane, that would be Janchi there. He is also a member of the ANC here in the Western Cape province. You can see there greeting the regional leadership of the ANC and also the South African Communist Party, Benson. He is a member of the ANC in this particular province of the Western Cape and in the Dola Omar region. He is also alongside those who are here to welcome. That would be Ambassador Ebrahim Rasool. That is the man who led that inquiry of fitness to hold office to the former public protector. That would be Busisiwe Mkhwebane.
All right, tell you what, Sam, it's all eyes and ears on that indeed. Thanks very much indeed for that update. That's our reporter Samgele Masego watching developments on that front.